July 26, 1950, Dardanelles Strait, Çanakkale port. Toward nightfall, Turkish gunners at the shore battery turned on their short slides and began scanning the strait. Suddenly, right before their eyes, a submarine of a very unusual design surfaced near the shore. The stunned Turks rushed to their guns and immediately opened fire. The range was so close that the shells struck the submarine's hull almost immediately. The strange submarine attempted to escape, but something held it underwater, and a hole near the conning tower prevented it from submerging. Realizing the submarine was doomed, the captain gave the order to raise the white flag, after which the Turkish guns ceased firing. Taking advantage of the pause, the submariners destroyed all classified documents and opened the sea cocks, then abandoned the sinking submarine. A short time later, the entire crew was captured. They were French submariners. An unusual French submarine named Mariotte participated in that brief battle. Its large, long forecastle, reminiscent of a ship's, was particularly notable. This design was closely tied to the submarine's intended purpose. Development of this unusual submarine began in December 1906. At that time, submarines as a class were just beginning to develop, and many unusual designs were underway. The French Navy conceived the idea of a high-speed submarine capable of escorting and covering a squadron of large warships. Naturally, escorting such ships required high speed and good seaworthiness, meaning the ability to navigate the open sea in various weather conditions. The French Navy Ministry announced a competition for the best design, which was won by designer Charles Rodiger. The engineer proposed building a submarine with an unusually high forecastle, which he believed would improve seaworthiness. Powerful surface-running engines were also envisaged. On December 31, 1906, the order for construction was placed with the Cherbourg Arsenal shipyard. The submarine was completed and launched in 1911. The submarine's hull was 212 feet 64 meters long, with a surface displacement of 545 tons. When surfaced, the stern of the submarine was almost completely submerged, with only the edge of the deck and an additional upper vertical rudder visible. The bow had a high forecastle. Sailors nicknamed the submarine Toothbrush due to its unusual appearance. The high forecastle was part of the conning tower fairing, meaning the main hatch was located on top of the forecastle. The submarine had a simple single-hull design, meaning it did not have separate pressure and light hulls, as later generations of submarines did. Its maximum diving depth was 114 feet, 35 meters. To achieve high speed, two 700 horsepower diesel engines were installed in the stern for surface propulsion. With these engines, the maximum speed was 14 knots, the highest speed in the French submarine fleet at the time. For submerged propulsion, two 500 horsepower electric motors were used. The submerged speed was also respectable, 11 knots, but at this speed, the cruising range was significantly reduced. The submarine could travel up to 1,650 nautical miles above water at a speed of 10 knots and only 140 nautical miles underwater at a speed of 5 knots. The hull was divided into 9 compartments, and the crew consisted of 32 submariners. The armament was adequate for the time. The submarine had 4 internal 450mm 17.7-inch torpedo tubes in the bow, as well as 2 more external Javetsky torpedo tubes. These torpedo tubes were developed in the Russian Empire and lacked a launch tube. When firing, the torpedo was simply released to the side and moved in a given direction. A disadvantage of these torpedo tubes was that they could only be reloaded at base, making this difficult at sea. Both Javetsky torpedo tubes were mounted above the main deck on the sides of the forecastle next to the conning tower. When stowed, they were covered with covers. The submarine carried a total of 8 torpedoes. For stable underwater movement, the submarine was equipped with 2 vertical rudders, an upper and lower one, like a fish, as well as several horizontal depth rudders. A bow vertical rudder was also installed for greater maneuverability, but it was of little use. 2 lead weights were also attached to the submarine's keel, which in an emergency, the submariners could discard and attempt to surface. The submarine's trial revealed several shortcomings. Firstly, although the submarine had good speed, its range was still insufficient to escort a squadron of ships. Secondly, the submarine's unusually high forecastle only helped it gain speed, but the stern was low, causing it to rock violently in rough seas. Thirdly, despite its rudders, the submarine was unstable at depth. Specifically, it had difficulty maintaining a consistent depth, likely due to its forecastle. Nevertheless, the submarine was commissioned into the French Navy on February 5, 1913, and received the name Mariotte. Until World War I, the submarine served routinely with the 2nd Division in Calais. When World War I began, the submarine was redeployed to the Mediterranean in August 1914, based in Toulon. Until the summer of 1915, the submarine carried out routine patrols at sea. In July 1915, Mariotte was included in the groups participating in the Dardanelles campaign. After the Anglo-French fleet's first attempt to pass through the Dardanelles failed, it was decided to send several submarines, including Mariotte. However, the Turks had laid numerous naval mines and anti-submarine nets in the strait, and intelligence lacked precise information on the location of the barriers. Mariotte was commanded by Lieutenant Commander Farb. On July 26, 1915, the submarine approached the strait, submerged, and attempted to break through. Near the port of Çanakkale, the submarine's propellers snagged the cables and became entangled. Attempts to escape were unsuccessful, and the commander made a daring decision to surface and attempt to free the submarine. However, after surfacing, the submarine was spotted by the enemy. Attempts to unhook the cable under gunfire were also unsuccessful, and the crew abandoned the submarine, raising a white flag. The submarine sank and immediately buried itself in the mud at a depth of just 16 feet, 5 meters. Overall, the design was considered a failure, and only one submarine was built. History has seen many unusual submarine designs, such as the German milk cows, the pot-bellied U-boats of World War II that carried only anti-aircraft guns. Learn more about these German submarines in the video linked on the screen or below this video. See you soon!